So I have some show and tell to do today. I've got a painting that I finished, and I'm going to tell you about the dream that goes with the painting. And the dream was about my path as a screenwriter, and it has a lot to do with Kingston, and it has a lot to do with Hollywood and how Kingston and Hollywood intercept. So I think it's interesting to think about how these two things intercept, how these two places come together, especially when things are kind of chaotic. And so if I'm reminded of my vision with this painting, which is so useful to me in that way, then I can see opportunities in the landscape to play through with my vision in mind, even though the landscape is quite chaotic and strange all of a sudden. So, so I hope that you enjoy this video, and here we go. So, in my dream, I was in Kingston, but I was also but I was in a place that was kind of outside of Kingston and more remote and sort of in the country somewhere around Kingston. And so it had its own Ontarian identity, but I don't know what it was. But it was basically in Kingston, and it was where the Kingston Film Office was. So it was a really remote, not so remote, but as far as Kingston city streets are concerned, it was a remote area with a dirt road and its own little identity. And it had a building on it that sort of looked like the Odessa Library, if you've ever been to Odessa. But except it wasn't on a real street, it was on a dirt road kind of thing. And they were closing it. It was closed when I came with my dad in the car. But it was closed, but the person who ran it happened to be there at the time because they were moving and they were actively moving and getting stuff out of there to put into the new location, which was right down the road. And it was a bigger building. So I didn't have much time to talk to that person, but we just looked at what was happening, the moving the things from one place to another. And so the little library was going to be left behind, and the new location was going to be this larger building that had a space for gatherings and was like a little more interesting a building. It was sort of a circular or roundish shaped front, sort of like Sterling Hall, only a lot smaller. Like Sterling Hall's sort of roundy shape, but it was a lot smaller, and it had the potential to have a lot more people in it, and it was really exciting that they were doing that. So anyway, we drove on because I realized that if I drove far enough, I would find the part of Kingston that was in other dimensions, and that I would be able to find the film office in other dimensions at other times. And so we drove, and we finally got to this other Kingston film office, which was actually manifested as a Northern California film office. And it was in a beautiful area that was really swampy and gorgeous, and it was sort of nightfall, and there were animals, like there were tigers in the in the swampy areas, and there were these flocks of snakes, like flocks of fire cobras that swam in formation, sort of propped up on their little spines, like swimming in formation like little sails with flames coming out of the top of their heads. And so the formation they swim in was a triangular formation. And so they were very dangerous, and so were the big cats, really dangerous. So we were in a motel, but we couldn't really go outside or like for very long because of the dangerous location that we were in. But we hopped in our car and we drove to the film office, which was a beautiful big building, lots of money in it. Not a lot of excitement, but they had facilities and they had everything that you would expect. They were a little bit official and a little bit stuffy, and a little bit like they were far from the magic of Hollywood. So they, not that the people were stuffy, but just that you could tell there was a lot of money, but not a lot of excitement or creativity. And there was a lot of safe bet sort of stuff happening, and which was fine. Like I signed up for a membership there, and I talked to the people, and they had a volunteer force and everything. But it was you could tell that it was a little bit further from the action than you would want for something really exciting. And so we kept driving after that, and we're still in Kingston, of course, but we were in a different dimension. We were now in Hollywood, and it was a beautiful, huge building with a library, a fully stocked library, and a bookstore, and a place for presentations and equipment rentals and membership, and a huge volunteer team. And so I arrived and I went inside, and they thought that I was a volunteer, so I decided that I would volunteer, and I wouldn't really ask them any questions because they had a whole lot of work for me to do right off the bat. So I started doing the things they wanted me to, stack some shelves in the bookstore and put some films back and so on. And then there was an event happening in the bookstore, and everyone was going to the bookstore, so I went there and I sat down, and I happened to sit down next to a Japanese filmmaker who was there, whose film was being celebrated. It was an animated film, and he had a beautiful shirt on with a Japanese print that was like kind of a stylized wave that you sometimes Japanese art. And I happened to have some things from the bookstore that I was intending to buy, and one of the things had those same waves on it, and it was a blank notebook that was merchandise for his film, which I didn't know. And so that was kind of a coincidence that was funny to both of us. And so he was there with the Japanese translator, and they had a little gathering. It wasn't very big. It was that's why they had it in the bookstore, because it was a kind of small film. And so it was his first day in Hollywood, and it was my first day in Hollywood, and so it felt kind of nice that we were there together. And some people thought we were friends, but we didn't know each other. But we hugged at the end because there was, we kind of mutually understood that it was sort of the beginning for us, because I'm a screenwriter. And so I took my things after that to the counter, and I paid for my membership, and I paid for the things that I was buying from the bookstore. And then I woke up, and I was totally nuts about going to the Kingston Film Office, which I knew existed. And so my friend came over, was planning to come over anyway, and he and I went down to the information center. I think it might have been a Saturday or Sunday or something. Otherwise, I would have just called. But we went down to the information center, and I talked to them, and I said, "Where is the film office in Kingston?" And I was kind of all stoked about it. And he told me that it is sort of affiliated with um, the tourism branch of City Hall, but it's actually near the Kingston Center. And by that time, and he told me who it was that runs it. His name is Alex Jansen, and he gave me a phone number and everything. And so we'd spent a long time getting there and talking about it, and I explained this whole dream to my friend, and so I was getting hungry, and I just went home and had lunch and everything, and I think I might have still believed that I was going to go to the film office directly, but it's just like an office for one person, I think. Maybe there's more going on there. I'm not sure. But I was talking to my friend who knows Alex Jansen, and she said that he does a lot of meetings at restaurants and things. And so, because he likes to, I don't know, I guess there are lots of restaurants in Kingston that are really nice. Anyway, so I didn't end up going to the Kingston Film Office because I just had a feeling that there was something for me to do, but it wasn't really that. And I knew about the Kingston mandate to draw filmmakers from other places to Kingston, and to make Kingston kind of a film town with resources here for filmmakers from away, and also resources in the form of grants and things for people who want to work in film in Kingston and want to be filmmakers already. And so as things went on, the city of Kingston hosted a meeting at the Isabel with a whole bunch of film-related unions, and they were talking about working in film and gaining skills and things like that, which was really interesting to me. I didn't actually go to that meeting either, but I heard about it, and I had a poster for it after the fact that I took home and put on my wall. So the dream impacted me so much and sort of projected me into my day that day so strongly that I felt like if I took some of the imagery from the dream and put it in a painting, that I would be able to see, or I would see the painting, and then I would remember what I needed to remember about the dream, and it would help me to keep my vision alive about what my intentions were on that day. And so that's why I created this painting. Okay, so this is the painting. So as you can see, there are at the top here some of the fire cobras. There's one, and there's another, and there's another, and there's another, and there's another, and another, and another. So all these fire cobras are significant because they were in the second dimension of the dream. So the first, so this is a dream. This is a dream image that's sort of corresponding to the time before maybe the film office was built. So it's a very kind of rural setting, and there are two people here. One of them is me, and we are discussing something. We have a little fire going, and we are in the landscape, And there's a moth, which is sort of a nighttime version of a butterfly transformation, so an internal transformation at night. And there are two little of those little white butterflies on the top, so like ghostly transformation. And then you have the different dimensions operating around the painting. I'm probably going to do more paintings with cobras in them to try and flesh out that symbol because it's very interesting. But yeah, this is the painting that I came up with. It's called Fire Cobras. Probably I'll call more paintings Fire Cobras as I explore that theme. Anyway, so yeah, I am really glad that I did this painting because it reminds me of that dream, and it makes me recall sort of what kind of um, goal scape I'm working from, and what to sort of focus on, especially when I feel like I need a sort of focus. So um, that was useful to me, and I'm sure it's useful to a lot of other artists who are, uh, trying to walk a path, and have goals about it that they want to remember. Um, and often just painting something while you're going through a certain time period, especially a really nice time period or a intense time period, can the feelings that you felt while you were doing the painting sort of come through. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this, and I hope you have a really good day. Bye.